to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic. I hope you had an absolutely fantastic Christmas wherever you are in this world of ours. Look, I know lots of people said that Santa sort of forgot to leave them the item that they wanted, like the sports car in the driveway. But look, it's not about the presents. It's about being with family, about being with friends, being alive and healthy, and being thankful for everything that we've got in our lives. And I think that's the magic of Christmas, isn't it? And seeing the delight on the little children's faces and the anticipation of Santa coming and maybe bringing them a pony that they've asked for year after year, which is impractical when they live in an apartment building. But anyway, that's the magic of Christmas. So this week, I just want to sort of say to you that I hope you've had a fantastic time. And as we wrap up the year, that you really do look back on the year and say, I have achieved everything that I set out to do. Don't be disappointed with the things that you haven't been able to achieve. Maybe they weren't meant to be. And sometimes I think we set ourselves too high a bar to try and jump over as we sort of move through life. And sometimes when we just relax a little bit and enjoy what's around us and say, I'm thankful for what I've got, and I'm really pleased that I'm in this position that I'm in, that we then start to relax and more things start to flow to us. So this week's Simply Tarot card of the week is the Three of Wands. Now, the Three of Wands is an interesting card because it's the card that says it's travel overland, and it's also surveying your kingdom. Now, what I like about the Three of Wands is that we have the opportunity to stand still, take a breath, and just be for the moment. Just look and sort of enjoy the position we are in life, that we don't always have to have, you know, the latest car or the latest outfit or the best hairdo or whatever. We can just sometimes be grateful and satisfied that we're where we are, that, you know, we've worked long and hard to get to this point, and we should be just thankful that this is where we're meant to be, that this is the actual place that we're meant to be at this moment, and we're precisely where we're meant to be, and that's a good thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So as we wind the year down, be thankful for where you are, be grateful that you've had the opportunity to survey your kingdom and to look at where you might be going and heading in the future, and be thankful that this is where you're meant to be, that you're precisely where you're meant to be, you're in the right job, you're in the right place, you're living in the right community, and that next year is going to be a bigger, more brighter, more positive year, if that's what you want. Or for many people, it may just be a continuation on of 2023 into 2024 because they are comfortable and happy and secure with what they've got. So whatever your dreams and aspirations are, take the time to stand still for a little bit and survey your own kingdom and say, I've done a really, really good job, and I'm pleased that I'm at this point in my life and I'm ready to now sort of look towards the future and look towards my horizons moving forward as we enter into the new year of 2024. So I hope that helps you understand what that card particularly means. Now, this week on the astrological front, of course, in the last week, we've had a changing of the guard. The sun has moved out of Sagittarius, sadly, and you'll see the tears in my eyes, and it's moved into Capricorn. And it's only because I'm a Sagittarius. I love that time of the year. It means Christmas has been and gone, and we're sort of heading into the more serious side of things, the wrapping up of the end of the year and the starting of a new year. So the sun in Capricorn can quite often make people feel slightly depressed. It's sort of like we've had this sudden jolt out of partying, being happy, everything being exciting, everything moving forward to sort of bang, we're back into work, we're back into the reality, we're back into the bills, we're back into the serious side of life. And for some people that can be sort of like a slap in the face. I didn't really want to go there yet. I wasn't quite ready yet. But for most of us, we are ready to make that sort of transition and move forward as we know that life continues to progress on. So we've got the sun in Capricorn, so happy birthday to all the Capricorns. And I know there's plenty of Capricorns around the world, and I have loads of Capricorn friends, of course, but it is an exciting and interesting time of the year. So we've got the Mars, the planet of action, and the planet that gets us out of bed of a morning, the planet of drive and opportunity, is conjunct or holding hands Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication, and they're both sitting in Sagittarius at the moment. Now, all forms of communication, it's not just speaking, it's cell phones, it's emails, it's messages, it's anything that you, in any form that you find that you communicate. Now, this Mercury is going actually retrograde or backwards at the moment, will be for about another week and a half. So we need to be incredibly careful of any communication that we make at the moment. We need to make sure that we're very clear, we're very concise. It's not the time to pick a fight with somebody unless you know you've got your facts straight. I don't think it's any time is a good time to pick an argument with somebody, but it's the time that not to get on your high horse unless you can really back up what you're saying with actual proof. Don't sort of just go half cocked and say, oh, I think I know or I know about something, and you don't really know about it at all, because you will get yourself into trouble. So it's the time to be very careful that, there may be a little bit of holiday residue left over where, you've had a little bit too much to eat and drink over the holiday season. And all of a sudden somebody in the family says something that you take offence to, and you sort of jump to your own defences and start laying into them on a verbal front, that it could end up creating a disagreement or an argument that could go on for years. So it's the last thing that we want to see sort of happen at the moment. So it's not the time to have the deep and meaningful conversation if you can put it to one side. It is a time where a lot of people sort of really don't have their listening ears on, and they're really not listening to what you've got to say. So they're only half hearing what you're saying, and they're picking up on maybe the negative things or the strong comment that you're making, but not everything that was around it. So I think you need to be very, very careful of communication at the moment, that people don't misconstrue what you're saying. Now, going back to the Sun in Capricorn, the Sun in Capricorn is also opposing, which means it's at opposite ends of the zodiac, opposing the moon. Now, anytime we get a sun-moon opposition, which happens quite often, we find that sort of it's like our ego versus our emotions, and sometimes it can be a push-pull situation. So the sun's in Capricorn, the moon's in Cancer, where it feels very comfortable because it rules Cancer. So it's sort of like, we could be coasting along really nicely, and this applies to all the signs, on an emotional front, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along and tries to oppose your thoughts or your ambitions or your drive, or sort of questions what you're doing or why you're doing it. Haven't you thought about it this way or that way? And it's like, hang on a minute, this is my dream, this is my reality. And if I want to sit there and daydream or feel comfortable to just be for the moment, then let me be that. You don't always have to be in top gear all the time. And I think sometimes people sort of do these sort of things because they're not comfortable in their own life. So they look around to sort of disrupt somebody else's life because they can't stand seeing somebody happy, contented, happy to just sort of be. They have to come in and try and alter it or change it in some way. So just be aware of that transit for the next 24, 48 hours, that there could be a little bit of a push-pull situation where someone's trying to push something down your throat and you're sort of feeling on your intuitive level that it's not right for you. Look, don't get into an argument with them. Just sort of smile sweetly and say, look, I'll give that a bit of thought and let's move on, let's move forward here. So we also have the sun. The sun's making a lot of aspects this week out of Capricorn, which is making a trine or a flowing aspect to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, opportunity, and luck. Now, it's sitting in Taurus. Now, this will mainly affect the earth signs, which is Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, but it also affects the opposite sign of Cancer. It flows over to the rest of the remaining 8 signs as well, but not to the same degree. So it's an opportunity there for all the earth signs and Cancer to really get out there and strut their stuff, that they have things are going to start to flow. Opportunities are going to start to flow in. Their world could start to sort of really expand. So if you've been looking to change your job, or you've been looking to do something that's of an official sort of nature, whether it might be go and get a bank loan or whatever, now's the time to start the ball rolling. It may not necessarily be the time to have that conversation until Mercury, goes direct again, but you can certainly put the groundwork in. You can start to do the preparation. You can start to look at things in a way that you're getting yourself ready for the next major thing that you want to come into your life. It's also a golden time where we can really expand out of our horizons. Now, because it's Jupiter sitting in Taurus, now that governs the things of, yes, our own personal money, but more importantly, I think the things that are important to us, our value systems, the things that we stand for, the things that guide us in and out of our lives, the things that we want to be known for. It's really about the things that we value. And, money is one of the things that we value, but we also value the things that we stand for. So it may just be an expansion of that, but I think it's a golden opportunity for those particular 4 signs to really start to look to the future at what they can bring in the next few months for themselves, that there's opportunities on the rise. We have Pluto sitting in Capricorn. I've been going on about Pluto and Capricorn as long as I've been doing this show, and it's coming to an end. I mean, in the next few weeks, Pluto will move out of Capricorn permanently and won't be back there for another 224 years. So this is why it's so important to understand where Pluto is and what Pluto's doing, because it's so slow moving, it affects all the 12 signs. And with Pluto in the last degree of Capricorn, it means now Pluto's really going to push to try and get his message across in whatever way that it may be. Now, Capricorn rules things like big business, governments, anything official, anything that we can see that is an official situation. And Pluto also in Capricorn is ruling things like climate change. Now, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in currently. I'm here in Australia on the Gold Coast. We are all feeling the effects of climate change. For us personally here on the coast, just in this last few days leading up to Christmas, we have had the most horrendous hail, thunderstorms, electrical storms. We've had storms that have been bordering along the lines of cyclones or typhoons or whatever part of the world that you're in, what you call them. And, you know, plenty of people to this, you know, at the moment as I'm speaking, around me that don't have power. I've just been one of the very fortunate ones. Maybe the universe decided that this show was more important than me being without power. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we've had days and days of storms just coming out of nowhere and still predicted for the next couple of days. And it is directly attributed to climate change. You know, we were being warned not 6 weeks ago that we were going to go into such a drought that we had to conserve every drop of water. And they no sooner finished making that statement, and all of a sudden we've gone into these rolling storms. And, you know, I know there's many weather events around the world where there's been, you know, terrible floods and fires and things like that. And this is Pluto sort of trying to say, you've got to start to take this seriously. We can all take small steps to move, you know, to try and bring climate change into some sort of balance. You know, we can't just keep ignoring it. And that's just one of the roles of Pluto. Pluto is trying to bring governments around the world back into balance. It's trying to, you know, show us that we don't need to continue to fight like we're doing in Ukraine and in the Middle East, that, you know, we can resolve things in a different way without bloodshed. How long is it going to take man to understand this, that, you know, we can all have a difference of opinion, doesn't mean we need to go to war. So when Pluto moves into Aquarius, that's going to be very interesting, very exciting, and we'll talk about that in future shows. We're going to take our first caller, which is Lisa in Durham in North Carolina. Are you there, Lisa?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Lisa?
I just want to see if you see any kind of direction where my life is going, and if you think I'm my future.
Okay, Lisa. Well, that's a really good question at the end of the year as we're heading into the new year, at where your life's sort of going. The first thing that they're showing me, Lisa, is it's time to stop and breathe a little bit. I think your life has been so hectic over such a long period of time. They're asking you to just be for the moment, to just sort of stand still, just enjoy where you are. It's not a time where we've necessarily got to make any major decisions or try and leapfrog ourselves into the next situation. It's time to just be. And I know that might sound like a little bit of a cop-out, you know, stand still, smell the roses, drink, you know, smell the coffee or whatever. But it's really, really important that you need to regather your strength on every level, not just on a physical level, but on an emotional level. Would it be fair to say in this last 3 months of this year that you've been feeling tired?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the reasons why. It's sort of the universe is asking you to sort of slow down, you know, like let's just, you know, if you can sit down and have a rest or watch a movie or read a book or something, please do so, and just let those batteries recharge. You are going to move into, again, a very busy period, and it won't be that far into the new year. I think by the early, you know, first couple of weeks of February, things have really ramped up again to, you know, frenetic pace again. And I just want to see you rest up until then. Were you planning or thinking about either making some changes to where you're living or moving home? Because they're showing me that it's a really big question mark.
Yes, making changes to my home, yes.
Yeah, but they're saying to me, don't sort of act on it just yet. Like, you know, it's again one of those things that you've got a little bit of time up your sleeve that you can sit and contemplate and really make sure that the changes you're going to make are right, that we're not just rushing into it because, I need a new bathroom, well, let's get it done. Like, really give it a lot of serious thought and investigation before you sort of pull the trigger on something. That's the first part of the changes. The other part that I was seeing, in a different sort of way is a little bit more complicated, in as much as it's like, I'm not saying that all your friends are horrible, and I'm not saying all your family are either, but what I'm saying is there's a transition there away from certain people. It's like, I'm no longer going to allow people to walk all over the top of me or try and dominate or control me or drag me into their dramas. It's like I want to pull back and conserve my energy for Lisa. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yes, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not so much that we've got to shut the door completely on all these people. It's about looking at the priorities. If you've got Mary Lou's been your best friend for all your life and she's always been a drama queen and she always drags you into all her dramas, it's like time to just sort of pull back a little bit and let her take the lead in her own life. You can still be there as a friend, but you don't have to be the number one person in her life. And that is important because I feel we need to keep the energy that you expend on other people for you, Lisa. And and there'll be some people that'll notice, and there'll be a lot of people that won't even notice that you've pulled back, and that's a good thing too. Energy wise, I think 2024 you're going to start to feel that you're bouncing again, that you've got your energy levels back again. I don't think you've necessarily been physically sick. I think you've just been exhausted because you've been too busy helping everybody else and trying to keep everything in your life afloat, that there hasn't been enough in the reserve tank to keep you sort of going. But 2024 is a very interesting year for you. It's going to be a year of great accomplishments, but it's not necessarily a year of massive change. Like I don't see I see some changes around the home, but I don't see you changing your job, changing relationships, changing everything. It's just sort of like it's fine-tuning things and getting to a point where you're going to look back at the end of 2024 and say, yeah, I'm really comfortable with the little tweaks that I made in my life, and it's made such a big difference. So I hope that's helped you, Lisa. We're going to talk with Kiki now in Chicago in Illinois. Are you there, Kiki?
Hi, I am here.
Hi, sweetie. How can I help you? Do you have a question? Oh, you're very welcome.
My live-in boyfriend, it's his home, has broken up with me, and he is now going out with a woman who has been one of my best friends for 35 years. I'm uncomfortable with that, and I'd be moving from Arizona to North Carolina to kind of a spiritual community setting, and I was just wondering if you see anything about that and my finances.
Yeah, well, you've had a lot of changes, haven't you, Kiki? I mean, I think you're doing remarkably well to be able to put all this into some sort of perspective and not want to bang their heads together, for them being so deceitful and sort of doing the things that they did. I mean, you're a stronger woman than I am. I don't know that I'd be so forgiving and so broad-minded about it all. But anyway, that's obviously part of your journey. And, hats off to you because, you're handling it really, really well. As far as a move for you, I think that's really an important thing. I think it's important as much as because it's not just that you're going more into a spiritual sort of setting, it's you're going home. That's what it feels like to me. Like I'm being pulled there, and it's like when you get there, it's like this real sense of, oh, thank goodness I'm home now. Like I'm home on a soul level, not necessarily on a geographical level, and that's really important. It's interesting because I don't know that if your boyfriend hadn't done what he'd done, whether or not you would have necessarily looked around and made these decisions for yourself. It was something that was floating around in the back of your mind, but I don't know that there would have been the motivation or the push to do so. So in some strange ways, he's done you a favour, and that's good. So I know that you said that, moving there is going to be more spiritual, but I still see you living in the real world. I still see you holding a job and going to work and doing all those sort of things. I just think it's going to really open up your horizons. So when are you planning on doing this? Is it within the first couple of months of 2024?
Yes.
Because I don't know that it's going to come off in January. That's what it was sort of like, I want to get going, but it's like I'm on the starting blocks, and for some reason or other, there keeps being a false start, and I can't sort of really leap forward till probably February, maybe even more towards the end of February, but that's okay. It's all good. So I actually felt that you were going to sort of have a job to go to. Is that something that was part of the plan?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because I can see a job to go to, and I actually felt that there was sort of like a temporary place to stay for a few days or a week, and then you move into something that's more suitable or more what you're looking for, that's closer to where you want to sort of set up your new life. I don't know that, if I can just focus on the ex-boyfriend for a minute, I don't think this wonderful romance that he thinks he's in with your friend is going to last, and maybe that's a little bit of poetic justice coming back. It's not.
Well, it is, because she is a grifter.
Right. Yeah, well,
I have found out.
Yeah, maybe it's their karma that both of them have got to experience. I think they're going to teach each other a few things. It's just, you will hear about it, and it's sort of like, oh, well, that doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have any emotion about it by then, but you sort of think, yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. And it's like, it's like it's the final part of the chapter between you all. It's like when that news comes in from a friend of everybody that tells you what's happened, you just sort of, it's like it's that final page of the book, and you know then the karma that you all experienced and had to experience in this lifetime is now complete. It's interesting because I see your whole life opening up by going to North Carolina. It's like you're like a tight rosebud at the moment, and each day the petals start to loosen up a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more until you go into full bloom. And you are actually going to attract new love. I think by the middle of next year, you're going to attract somebody into your life who will become your life partner. And you're going to look at them and say, wow, if I'd met you 2 years ago or even 12 months ago, I don't know that I would have been ready for the power of the love that you're going to feel and the direction your lives are going to take you together. It's like, wow, I don't think I would have been ready for that on any level. And that's a good thing. So, you know, the whole of your universe is about to open up. Finances are going to be fine. You know, I mean, you can still be spiritual and still allow finances into your life. There's nowhere that I've ever seen that says that you have to be broke to be spiritual. And, you know, and I don't agree with people that sort of look at it in that way. It's everything in balance. You know, we have a right to a good, substantial sort of life. And if you want to drive a flashy car and that's important to your soul, then that's fine. Where someone else might like to walk, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong in anything. As long as you're not doing anything to hurt anybody, I think, you know, the world, and particularly in a spiritual sense, wants us to be abundant in whatever it is that makes our life easier. And that's how you balance that out. You know, as long as you're not hurting anybody, there's no reason why you have to be broke to be spiritual. You can have loads of money.
Thank you.
It's how you use it.
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Yes, very quickly.
Back in Arizona, there's 4 doggies that live with us. They're his dogs, but they've really become my dogs. And that makes me really sad to leave them. Will I be able to still come see them?
Yeah, you'll be able to come and see them, but it's interesting because the dogs will never forget you. So don't ever look at it in that sort of way. And they'll know you're coming before you even know yourself.
Good.
Yeah, and he'll say that. The dogs have been acting strange for 2 weeks now, and then I get your call and say you're coming for a visit. And the dogs just know. There's just such a soul connection there. So don't look at it. Look, the dogs will be happy. They'll be fine, but they'll always be tuned into you. So you don't need to worry about that. So anyway, Kiki, that's where we're going to leave it. You were my last caller for 2023. So have a happy new year.
Thanks, Amanda. You too.
I will, sweetie. It's always interesting that as the year starts to wrap up, the things that we saw that were important to us, or the things that we thought that were going to be important to us. And I don't know, many people sort of sit down and start writing their New Year's resolutions out, and, you know, and I'm going to stick to this, I'm going to do this, that and the other. I gave up writing New Year's resolutions a very, very long time ago. I try and look at it, it's an opportunity for a fresh start, that sort of, you know, whatever the year's going to bring is what it's going to bring. And I don't know that too many of us really ever really fulfill our so-called New Year's resolutions. Every year I sort of make a pact with myself that next year I'm going to learn to bring my life more into balance. I'm a bit of a workaholic. I think I've nearly managed that, you know, I learned this little trick off somebody, that you put things in your diary or in your planner, even things like having a sit down and watch a movie, you put that into your planner and it's like, oh, that's the next thing on the to-do list. And I found that that's worked really well for me. So whatever it is for you that you need to be sort of looking at, we all need to be sort of looking at making our lives a little bit more simplistic. And if it's the one thing that we learned out of COVID, that, it didn't matter who you were or how much money you had or didn't have, we all went through the same experience. We all got locked up. We all had to sort of reorganize our lives and live in a different way. And hopefully now that we've still retained some of those lessons, some of those big learning curves that we learnt during that period, and that we can take them into 2024. And that, next year can be everything that you want it to be. It's not always about the money in the bank or having the flashiest car in the driveway. It's about being the best person that you can be. And I know that that's something I've always strived to do, is to be the very, very best person that I can be and make sure that I leave enough time for me. As I said, I'm a workaholic, and I really did have to learn how to schedule downtime and not feeling guilty about having some little bit of downtime. So I want to leave you with a song for the remainder of this year. And I mean, look, I know lots of you are going to say, oh, yes, it's David Cassidy or it's John Farnham. Well, it's actually neither. It's one of the most beautiful songs that I think that was ever written, sung by a very, very powerful lady who's no longer with us. And I think it's one of the greatest songs that I ever heard. And the very first day I ever heard this song, I went out immediately and bought the album because I thought the words were so inspirational and we should all embrace them. And it's by Whitney Houston, and it's The Greatest Love of All. So happy New Year, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.